What's good, YouTube? It's your boy DJ LiftOFF with the JP Way, and you don't want to miss this flight. Today, I'm going to be showing you all 3 transitions that you can use to go between songs from a slow BPM to a high BPM, or you can use one of them to go from genre to genre. One thing I am going to ask you all to do is please hit that like button as well as that subscribe button if you do enjoy my content. But without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, DJs, we're gonna go ahead and break this down one transition at a time. So I'm gonna show you an example of each one, then I'll break it down and move on to the next. So let's get it started.
Drop it like it's hot, 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 drop it like it's hot.
All right, so that's it for the first transition. As you can see, we did use the sync button, and we simply gradually raise our tempo slider until we reach the 1 of the song that we were actually dropping, and then we went ahead and reverbed out the song that we were transitioning out of. Now, to do this, the number one thing that's most important is before you actually use sync, and if you don't know what sync is, essentially whatever songs you have on each deck, it'll automatically sync the BPMs so they're the exact same. So right now, if I turn it off, you can see that I can have 110 over here and I can have 100 over here. If I hit the sync button on the right side, it's actually gonna sync to the BPM that's on the left deck and vice versa. If I go ahead and unsync these, if I hit the sync button on the left side or the left deck, it's gonna sync up with the song or the BPM on the right deck. So for this particular transition, the song that you're actually going to be transitioning into, you wanna make sure that your slider is either down if you're gonna be speeding it up, if you're going to be speeding your song up, or vice versa. If you're going to be slowing your song down, you want to make sure your tempo slider starts up so you have enough room to go down. Because essentially, if you're trying to speed up a song, so you're trying to take a song from 100 BPM to 120, if your slider is all the way at the top, when you hit your sync button, you'll only have this much room to try to speed up. You won't be able to get to your final destination. So the first thing I'm looking at for this is I have Cake by the Ocean on the left deck, and I see I'm trying to get to 119. So I see on the right deck, my song is at 98 BPM. So let's just put this around 102. Our left deck, which again is the song that we're transitioning into, and we're gonna match this to that 102. And it actually doesn't even matter if we match it perfectly. We just wanna make sure that our slider is down since we are going to be raising it up. What also helps is you have your pitch range select. So I usually have mine always on 16% as it gives you more range of BPM, 16 BPM instead of 8 BPM. Or if you're doing a very, very big range, maybe going from 100 to 140, then you might want to use 50%. But in this case, we're just going to use 16. Now, the next thing that I need to know is where is the 1 on the song that I'm going to be transitioning into. So if I go ahead and play this, we see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bars, and right on that 5th bar we have to drop. So we have a 4-bar intro. So that is something we would like to keep in mind. So we know that we have 4 bars to actually raise our tempo slider before we're going to be fading out of the other song. If you had 8 bars or 16 bars, it would allow you to gradually slide your tempo slider up a little bit slower. Now for this, I could make this an 8-bar loop by simply placing a beat loop on here and then playing it. So it'll go right into that 5th bar, and then a repeat, and then I'll have an 8-bar loop, which will give me a little bit more time. But for this particular transition, I think I have enough time just with the 4-bar loop. Now, the last thing to remember, the song that I was actually transitioning out of, I had the volume all the way up the entire time, and all I did was simply have my reverb on. I increased the reverb as I slowly brought up the tempo slider. I increased the reverb as I slowly brought up the tempo slider, and once we hit the 1 on the left deck, you can go ahead and take out the song that you're transitioning out of. And the reason why I like to use reverb is it gives a lasting effect of the song that you're transitioning out of. Instead of it being like a hard cut, you get that tail of reverb. And it technically doesn't matter which slider you use. I could use the right slider or the left slider. If I decide to use the right slider, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this down first. And that's just because I need to have enough room to slide the slider up to speed up the song. So now you can see over here, I'm at 84 BPM, and over here, I'm at 103 BPM. So what makes sense this time is to actually match my right song to my left deck. Since on my right deck, the original BPM is 98, and we wanna match it closer to 103, opposed to if we hit sync over here, it'll match to 84. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit sync on this side. Now both of them are at 103, and I can use either slider to transition upwards. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you it one more time.
drop it like it's hot, 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 drop it like it's hot.
Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the second transition that you can use to go between large BPMs. And for this one, you can also use different genres to go from one genre to another genre with this as well. So let me go ahead and show you an example, then we'll break it down. So as you can see there, we went from an upbeat song to a much slower song, and all we really did was use a fade in, fade out technique with a little bit of reverb involved. Now for this one, the most important thing that you want to know is for the song that you're actually fading into or that you're bringing in, you want to know exactly where your one is, where you'll be dropping the song. So for this one, I know I think it's just about 4 bars. 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4, 4 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. So I have a 4-bar intro. And the thing that you actually want to remember is the actual timing. So I like to remember the timing. So I know I have 14 seconds. Right on this one is 14 seconds. So I know I have 14 seconds to fade this in and actually reverb out of the other song. If you just like to look at waveforms, you can also just look at the waveforms. For me, I personally like to look at the actual timing. Now, on the other hand, for the song that you're actually going to be fading out of, since this can be used for genres or just for large BPMs, what I like to do is wait to the very end of the song or wait for a part of the song where there's just an instrumental, something where there's not too much going on. I wouldn't recommend using this like in the middle of a verse or a middle of a chorus or any spots where there's a lot going on because it just makes the transition more apparent. But like for this song that I used the end of the song where there's just like an instrumental. So I have not too much going on. So when I'm actually fading in the other song, it just blends a little bit better. And you'll see what I mean. After you kind of like practice a little bit and play around with different songs, you'll understand what I mean. So my rule of thumb is kind of wait to the end of the song, especially if it's a completely different genre, just because you kind of want to get out of the full flow or out of the full vibe of that song. And by letting it reach the end of the song, you're almost making a point that this vibe or this song is completely over and then we're going with a new vibe. Now, the last thing that you need to remember is reverb is your best friend with this one. So on the left deck, I had the song that I was actually transitioning out of, and all I simply did was turn on my reverb and slowly bring up the reverb as I kind of faded out the song. If I have this playing, I can go ahead and activate that reverb, and then it'll just take some playing around with. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. It's gonna actually take just a little bit of playing around with finding out the best time to start your other song, because since it's not on the same BPM or they're not technically like lining up perfectly, you just have to kind of play around and see what sounds best. So there's no particular time that's best to start this track on the right deck. Like I said, you're just gonna have to kind of play around with it and kind of just feel it. And the one cue that you have to always be mindful of is you have 14 seconds to get to that one. So you know that you're going to be increasing this reverb and slowly bringing this song out as you slowly bring this one in for 14 seconds. And that's essentially how you do the second transition. This definitely will take some practice and playing around with and just seeing what songs that you can transition from that sound really good. I definitely have used this with all different kinds of songs. Like I could be going from a slow song, from a hip hop song to a slow song, and it always really works for me. The most important thing is just remember where that one is. You never want to be like off the one. You don't want to be fading in the song when you've already passed the one, because it just sounds weird for like the vocals to randomly come in. You want to be coming in right on that one. Now, this third transition is very similar to the first transition, except it incorporates an actual song that's a transitional song. And by that, I mean it actually automatically goes from one BPM to another BPM. Now, you can find songs like these or transitional songs like these on multiple pool sites. A pool site that I used to use was MP3 Pool online. Definitely has a lot of different transitional tracks and just tracks in general. So definitely check that out. I know there's so many other record pools as well. So definitely check out the different ones. But again, I used to use my MP3 pool a lot. Now, one of the most important things to know when you're using a transitional song is you need to know exactly where the song actually speeds up so your songs are never off beat. So we're gonna go ahead and load this up on the left deck. And as you can see in the title, it says DJ Hope transition 100 to 119. Okay, so whenever you're using this, you see I have it on 100. If I wanted to put it on 102, you can use any BPM you want, but just keep in mind, if I was to set it at 104 per se, and then I had this song over here at 104, they would be perfectly matched up. But once the song actually speeds up, you're not going to be at 119 BPM. You're going to be 4 BPMs over, since we use 104 instead of 100. So now we'll be at 123 opposed to 119. So definitely keep that in mind. So I'm going to actually leave mine right at 100. And then I'm going to have my song over here on 100 as well. Now, to find where the song speeds up, the easiest way to do it is either just do it by ear. So you can literally just play the song and just listen by ear, or you can find another track, play them together, and then listen to when they get off sync. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. I'm going to start both of these songs at the exact same time, and we're going to listen to see when it gets off sync.
Drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it like it's hot. 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 Drop it.
So as you can start seeing right there, as soon as we pretty much got to the drop, right on that oh no, as soon as we got right there, like maybe a beat or two after that, you can see that it starts speeding up. So the only thing that I need to do for this particular transition is reverb out the song that I'm fading out of as soon as we reach the one, or as soon as we reach the part of the song that we're transitioning into where it actually begins to speed up. So this is exactly what I mean.
Drop it like it's hot. 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 Drop it like it's hot.
So as you can see there, the song on the left deck started to speed up by itself, and all I had to do was reverb out of the song on the right deck. Now, one thing that you can do to make it sound not so bare, as you can see, when the song was actually speeding up, there was nothing going on the right deck, so it just sounded really bare as the song speeded up. You can use a part of the song that you're transitioning out of and just like set a cue point. So I have a cue point right at the beginning of this song, and you can set a cue point anywhere, but I could keep tapping this particular part as the song is actually speeding up. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean by that.
Drop it like it's hot. 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 Drop it like 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 drop it like.
So that's one way you can make the transitional part of the song that's speeding up a little less boring, just by setting a cue point, whether you set that at an instrumental part or a vocal part, whatever you feel is best, and just kind of tapping on the cue part and keeping up with the speed of the song on the left deck. So I wouldn't have kept going.
Drop it like it's hot.
I wouldn't let the whole Drop It Like It's Hot play, because at some point it's still going to be at 100, and then this song is going to be transitioning at like 116 and then going up to 119. So of course you want to start pressing the cue button a little bit faster so you can keep up with the pace as the song actually speeds up. All right, DJs, I hope you all enjoyed learning those 3 different transitions. Like I said, continue to practice, continue to figure out which songs work with which songs, practice transitioning from genre to genre, figuring out when you want to use the reverb, how to best drop the one, all of those different things. These are your core elements of how to do it. But again, you always need to practice, and continue figuring out new ways to do things and which ways sound best. So with that being said, again, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, as well as subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see the next time that I upload a video. I have plenty more content to come. So with that said, I'm up out of here. See y'all in the next one.